Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is the next story, you guys. So this is a very juicy story because Samsung confirms a Lapsus ransomware hit where their source code was leaked. And this move comes just a week after GPU maker NVIDIA was hit with Lapsus and every employee credential was leaked.
Yes, Lapsus group is very hot right now.
So hot.
Yeah.
I would say my only comment for this is that it's Samsung's source code that was released. It's their IP that was released. I could not care less if their IP, if how much damage their IP has been done with this. The fact that it's source code and that down the road, people can create exploits for Samsung products based on this is the real danger. So like Log4j, I definitely expect in the future we're going to see attacks on Samsung platforms based on the information that was released with the source code.
Every time source code is released, it leads to a whole new set of vulnerabilities because you can statistically, statically, and dynamically analyze the source code to find bugs. And you can't do that from the binaries very easily. Think about when the Windows source code was released, right? Like so many vulnerabilities were found and so many exploits. So yeah, if you're using a Samsung device, well, and I found this interesting that it's both Samsung and NVIDIA, right? Like pick your partners very carefully because what ends up hurting one may hurt the other.
Yep. Yeah, and this is hardware source code, so it's not like they can flip a switch and change this immediately. Well, they can to a degree. But this is not going to be the last time we hear about this story.
That sucks.
Yeah, we'll hear about this through various exploits and 0 days that get released.
I was actually thinking about the fact that the source code got leaked. I mean, I know it's been mentioned it was about the hardware, but it crossed my mind the fact that, for example, Samsung makes mobiles and those are based on Android. So it could, maybe I'm speculating too much, but it could maybe potentially lead to some of Android code being exposed as well, which could bring to exploits on that whole platform as well, not just Samsung. But maybe I'm speculating too much.
There's a wise comment here. Someone who says if Samsung keys are leaked, it could compromise the trust zone environment on the devices that store especially sensitive data, like biometrics, some passwords, and other details. It's really something to take the dimension of the mess they're in. I mean, if there's any chance they got in deeply, people would rapidly start distrusting the company, and you can picture the rest.
So that's a really important point because whenever you're relying on keys, right, you are completely exposed if the key gets leaked. So there's a whole movement that's called the passwordless movement, and it's all about biometrics and secure keys, right? But what happens when the key gets leaked? It's not secure anymore. And so there's a problem if you're relying on this one thing that's supposed to never be stolen that can get stolen. At least with a password, you can change it. But if you're using an authority, that's very hard to change.
Right. And the same goes with biometric, because your fingerprint are just a password God gave you, and that's it.
And there's a massive increase in attack surface area when you go from computer systems, laptops, desktops, whatever, to handsets. When you go to handsets, because most people are also employees and have a corporate identity, when you go to handsets, man, all bets are off because you've just like quintupled or sextupled the attack surface area.
Yeah, this actually goes back to that cow story, because USA Hearn used keys, and in theory, keys are great, keys work, but they bypass their own key security. They started hard coding it, and at that point, why bother?
Yeah, I don't think keys are great. I think that keys are one of many things that you should use. I think password, TOPT, multi-factor, and biometrics, and IP address, and geolocation. I think it's got to be all of the above. And I will say, if you're relying on a passwordless solution, that's going to be great until someone has a warrant and they grab your phone from you and they have access to everything. At least with a password, it's in my brain, and in theory, I don't have to tell it to you.
Or you set up a system where that if there's any hint, you run a script and it deletes all your keys everywhere
Well,
across the
The
servers.
point is, non-recovery is sometimes a feature and not a bug.
Right. Yeah.
That's right.
The great thing about a password is it's a secret that only I know, right? The bad thing about biometrics is I can unlock your phone with Face ID just by holding it up to your face. I can use your thumbprint against your will, right? And so if you're relying on a passwordless solution, you may be in a situation where someone wants access and you're unable to stop them physically. And if it's not something that you have to tell them, right? The safest place to store it is inside of your brain. If you can't do that, then you're kind of fucked.
I get that, like, this is trite by 2022, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, but really kind of going from a password to a key, you're trading availability possibly for integrity, you know, as the weak letter there, because as you said, if you build it on a system where those keys will never get exposed, like, yes, they will.
And an episode of Bourbon and Data Breaches. If you like what you saw today,
Get it there.
hello. Welcome to our video cast from not Russia or China, because we're banned there. If you have a bourbon or a breach you'd like us to cover,